Hello everyone, this is Sandhya. I'm back with another chapter. Today we will continue with history of class 10 and the chapter which we will discuss is the age of industrialization part 1. Dear students, history is an essential subject as it constitutes a crucial subsubject of social science. Dear children, so history is a theoretical subject. You need to write excellent answers. So, scoring good marks in history is vital as scoring in other subjects. So, I have covered all the concepts in this session. You can score more marks in your history exam by thoroughly going through this video lecture. Dear children, today we all are familiar with the term industrialization, isn't it? This term has become a part of our daily life. We read about various newspapers and journals. But the question arises as to how did the industries come into being and how did the age of industrialization started. All these things will be discussed in our chapter, The Age of Industrialization. So, let's begin with the chapter. Dear children, to begin with, we will discuss this picture. Observe the given picture carefully. This artwork was basically a cover page of a music book in 1900. A famous music publisher, E.T. Paul, had produced this book. If we look into the picture, we will see an image of a goddess. She is picturized as an angel of progress who bears a flag of the new century. She is standing on a wheel with wings that will take her to the future. Behind her are the symbols of progress such as railways and camera and machines, etc. Dear children, not only this, there were some more examples and depictions of glorification of machines and technology by the people. Dear children, one such was the picture that appeared on a trade magazine titled The Two Men. On the top is from the Orient who has built a beautiful place with the help of his magic lamp, and below him is the picture of a machine. He is the one who with the modern tools has built hidden. Dear children, Aladdin is shown as the symbolic representation of East and past. You know Aladdin? On the other hand, the mechanic symbolizes the vast and its modernity. Dear children, this kind of image offers us a victorious account of the modern world. As per this account, today's world is closely located with technological changes and various innovations. Dear children, the use of machines, railways, and steam shapes nature as a story of industrialization and development. These images have become a part of popular imagination. Industrialization spread to railways and the construction of various buildings and bridges is a symbol of society's development. Dear children, so now the question arises as to how we can relate ourselves to these images and ideas. Is industrialization a rapid process? Is it possible to us to continue this industrialization? Let us discuss about that. Children, all these questions answered in this chapter. So, to begin with, we will discuss about Britain, which is considered as the first industrial nation, and then we will discuss about India, where industrial changes took place because they were imposed by the colonial rule on our country. The children, before the Industrial Revolution, generally we associated industrialization with the growth of factories. Whenever we talk about industrial production or industrial workers, we generally relate it to the factory and factory workers, isn't it? Historians of industrialization should have commenced with the setting up of the first factory. But there is a problem with this nation too. It is so because even before factories began to work in England and Europe, there was a large scale industrial production for an international market. Therefore, many historians consider this period as proto industrialization. So, if we talk about the 17th and 18th century, merchants in Europe began moving to the countryside where they used it to supply money in order to persuade the rural peasants and artisans to produce for the international markets. As the world trade expanded and colonization of various parts of the world began, it led to the problem arose that the merchants were not able to expand the production in the towns. The children, it was so because the urban crafts and trade goods were more powerful. These were the powerful groups or associations of the producer. The children, they use it to train the craft people and maintain control over production and regulate the competition and prices and even restricted the entry of the new businessman into the trade. The children, even the kings too granted monopoly of few of their associations. No one other than these associations could produce or deal in particular products. So, here we can say that there was a great competition for any of the new merchants. Due to this, most of them turned towards the villages. The children saw the peasants of the countryside who were earlier dependent on the common fields for their survival, where they used to gather firewoods and vegetables and store looking for some alternative sources of income. Your children, most of them had tiny plots which could not provide employment to all the members of the family. Therefore, they easily gave their consent to work for the merchants. Their children, the main benefit to work for the merchants was that it allowed them to stay in the countryside and take care of their fields while they were working for the proto industries. Working for such industries not only provide them with some income but also facilitated them to make full use of their family labor resources. Their children, soon a close relationship formed between villages and towns. Due to this system, merchants were generally based in towns, whereas the work was done mostly in the countryside. The children, a merchant dealing in clothes would buy wool from a wool stapler and then take it to the spinner. From there, the thread was taken in subsequent stages of production to weavers. Dear children, fullers and then to dyers. The final finishing was done in London before exporting the cloth to the international market. Soon, London emerged as a finishing center. The children, hence, this proto-industrial system was a part of a network of commercial exchange. It was controlled by merchants, and the goods were produced by a vast number of production who were working at their homes and not in factories. There were around 20 to 25 workers employed by each merchant at each stage. So, here we can say that each merchant had around 100 workers working under him. Dear children, the coming of the factory. The multiple inventions during the 18th century led to the increase in the efficiency of each step of the production process. These inventions increased the output per workers and enabled them to produce more. Dear children, the coming up of the factories through came up by the 1730s in England, but it was only in the late 18th century that the number of factories increased. The first sign of the new era was cotton. The cotton production increased in the late 19th century. In 1760s, Britain was importing 2.5 million pounds of raw cotton to use it as a raw material for its cotton industry. So, here the question arises as to what led to this increase in the production of cotton. Let's have a look at this. The multiple inventions during the 18th century led to the increase in the efficiency of each step of the production process. Dear children, these inventions increased the output per workers and enable them to produce more. Not only this, they could now produce it stronger and threads and earn later on richer in wanted cotton mill. So now a new change was seen in the production process. Earlier cloth production was spread all over the countryside and carried out within villages, households, but now the merchants started purchasing machines and setting up for mills. This facilitated the whole process, which was now carried under one roof. Dear children, this led to more careful supervisions of the whole production process. Now one could take care of various of functions. One of that, keeping a watch over quantity or quality and regulation of labors. Such things were not possible when the work was carried out in the countryside. So, in the beginning of the 19th century, factories became an important part of the English landscape. Dear children, so now we will see how rapid was the process of industrialization, and did it only mean setting up of the new factories? Let's see it in some stages, the pace of industrial changes. The new industries were not able to replace traditional industries fully. It can be seen in the end of the 19th century also that less than 20% of the total workforce was working in the technically advanced industries. Dear children, first, the industries that gained popularity in Britain were that of the cotton and the metal. In 1840s, cotton industry was the leading industry in Britain. Later on came the iron and steel industry. But with the expansion of the rail network in England during the 1840s and in colonies during 1860s, the demand of iron and steel started gaining pace. So, by 1873, Britain was exporting iron and steel worth 77 million pounds, and it was double the value of its cotton exports. Then the new industries were not able to replace traditional industries fully. It can be seen in the end of the 19th century also that less than 20% of the total workforce was working in the technically advanced industries. For example, textiles was a dynamic sector. Still, much of its products were produced in the household units and not in the factories. The speed of change in the traditional industries was not set by the steam powered cotton mills or the metal industries, but we can't say that these industries become motionless through some small innovations served as the basis of growth in many non-mechanized fields, for example, food processing, pottery, building and furniture making, etc. Dear children, the technological change occurred slowly due to some regions. For example, buying search machines was costly affair, so many of them industrialists were not in favor of this. Moreover, the repair of these items, the repair of these machineries, it's not easy task for them and it is very costly and they were not as good as it was claimed by the inventor or marketers. This could be easily understood in the context of the steam engine. James Watt improved the steam engine produced by Newcomen and got its patent right in 1781. One of his industrialist friend Hatto manufactured the new engine by Watt, but the problem occurred when they didn't find any buyer for years. During the beginning of the 19th century, there were no more than 321 steam engines all over England. Out of these, 80 were being used in the cotton industry and 9 were being used by the wool industries. The left ones were utilized either in mining or in canal and iron workers. The children, so here we can say that a most advanced technology of that era that had increased productively of labor modified was not rapidly accepted by the industrialists. As per historians, we can say that the mid 19th century workers was basically a traditional craft persons and not a machine operators. So now that we know how industrial revolution took place and how industries were set up, there were a number of industries where demand for labor was seasonal. For example, gas workers generally busy through the cold months. Dear children, now we will discuss about the laborers and the steam powers. New inventions were taking place and during the era of Queen Victoria, there was a large supply of laborers available in Britain. A large number of poor peasants moved from one city to another in search of work. We all know that when large numbers of workers are available for work, then the wages paid to these workers is generally low. Hence, the industrialists had no problem of shortage of laborers or high wages. They could easily find cheap laborers to work for them. This was one of the major reasons why these industrialists were not ready to invest large amount of money in buying the machines. There were a number of industrials were demanded for labor was seasonal. For example, gas workers were generally busy through the cold months. So, during this time period, the requirement of workers was more. Even bookbinders and printers and catering or Christmas demand too needed extra hands before December. Dear children, not only this, if we talk about the shipping sector, they were generally wrapped and stored too during the winter season. So, here we can say the industries which were handling seasonal types of business raise much on hand labors for the particular season. Not only this, various products were produced only with hand labor. Machines during these days were used in production of either uniform or for some standardized goods for mass market. But the demand of these goods, which had design or specific shape, were in huge demand. For example, in mid 19th century, Britain 500 varieties of hammers and 45 types of axes were produced. But such types of production required skilled labor, so mechanical technology was not preferred. The children in Britain, the upper classes such as some allied people and performed handmade things. Handmade things was treated as a symbol of aliveness. Handsome goods were better finished and were designed carefully. On the other hand, machine goods were meant for the export to the colonies. Dear children, if we talk about countries where there was less manpower, the industrialists performed usage of machines for the production of purpose. This was visible in the cases of America, but Britain had no such issue as it has great manpower or supply of labor. So now we know that in some countries there were large number of workers available, whereas in some countries production was dependent on the machines as there was no availability of the workers. But now the question comes, what type of life did these workers lead? Let's discuss about that, the life of the workers. After the business seasons was over, laborers looked for even odd jobs. The wages increased somewhat in the 19th century. The income of workers depended not on the wages rate alone. It also depended on a number of days of their work. Dear children, the large supply of workers in the market had a greater impact on the lives of these laborers. If the news about any new employment come to the villages, large number of people would then shift to the cities in search of work. Dear children, it was easy to find a job if they had any friend or relative who are working in a factory. But sometimes the job seekers had to wait for weeks to find a job. They had to spend night under the bridges or in night shelters. Dear children, the other places to stay were the night refuges and set up by individuals, or the casual was managed by the law authorities. Dear children, on the other hand, the nature of work in many industries were seasonal, which mean prolonged periods of unemployment. When the season was over, the workers were left on the streets without work and money. Some of them used return back to the countryside, and some others tried to find odd jobs for their survival. In the early 19th century, there was an increase in the wages, but they were sufficient for the welfare of your workers is not known. The children, the trade used to have an impact on the workers' wages. So, was when the state was in war, for example, during the Napoleonic War, the wages given to the workers were not sufficient enough because the price of goods had increased, which made them unable to buy the required things. Even the wages of the workers was not dependent on the wages rate alone. The things that played an important role was the period of employment. Dear children, the number of work was used as a base of determine the over daily income of the workers. So, in the mid 19th century, about 10% of urban population was extremely poor. But during the time of depression, the situation got worse than unemployment rose to 75% from 35% in different regions. So, the problem of unemployment created a fear among the workers. This fear made them hostile to the new technology. So, when spinning wheel was introduced in woolen industry, and many women who used to work for these factories turned jobless. So, the workers start attacking these factories. These conflicts continue for a long time. So, after the 1840s, building activity grows stronger in the cities. Various construction works such as vending of roads or construction of bridges and digging tunnels and river embankments were carried on. This led to the generation of job opportunities. The number of employed workers in the transport industry doubled in the 1840s and doubled again in the subsequent years. Dear children, now, we will continue, we will move on to know how industrialization started in colonies. Indian textiles dominated the international market. Through various countries were producing cotton, but it was quote, the finest quality of cotton was produced in India. Dear children, when we talk about colonies, it means those areas that were colonized by the European powers. As you know that, here we will discuss about India. India was a colony of Britain. So now we will see how does a colony get industrialization. Dear children, Indian textiles, especially silk and cotton goods, were very famous in the international markets. So before the invention of various types of machines, Indian textiles dominated the international market. Through various countries were producing cotton, but it was coarse. The finest quality of cotton was produced in India. America and Persian merchants took the goods from Punjab to Afghanistan, which were then taken to Eastern Persia and Central Asia. The transportation of bales of fine textiles was done on camels and via the northwest run and through mountain passes and across the deserts. Dear children, on the other hand, it was also exported through sea routes of Surat and Gujarat to the Gulf and Red Sea parts, Machilipatnam on the Coromandel coast and Hooghly in Bengal had trade links with the Southeast Asian parts. Various Indian merchants were involved in the whole process of export trade. For example, the financing production and carrying the goods and supplying exports. There were supply merchants who linked the port to the inland regions. The children, they used to give advances to the weavers and procure woven clothes from weaving villages. Next, they would carry the supply of the ports. At the port, there were the export merchants and the big shippers who had brokers to make deals by negotiating the prices so that they can buy goods from the supply merchants operating on lands. Dear children, but by 1750s, the whole network of export which was under Indian merchants started breaking down. Then it was so because the European companies had now arrived at sin. They started gaining power by securing a variety of concessions for local courts and then established monopoly over trade. All this led to the decline of the old ports of Surat and Hooghly, which was used by the local merchants. Dear children, the exports started declining and the soon situation became so bad then that the local bankers turned bankrupt. Dear children, in the last year of the 17th century, the trade of Surat and Tunis 3 million from 16 million to. True, old ports like Surat and Hooghly had come that their declined ports of Bombay and Calcutta started growing. This shift was clear sign of growth of the colonial power. All trade activities were controlled by the European powers. Any Indian trader who wanted to survive had to work under their control. The children, when all these changes were taking place, there were some more changes that took place in the lives of weavers and artisans. We will discuss how did this happen in next part, this lesson next part. Dear children, last but not least, time can be your best friend and your worst enemy too, depending on whether you use it or waste decide your. Dear children, this video lecture helps in understanding the concepts easily. We discussed all important topics and concepts and dates, isn't it? Go through this video lecture again and try to understand the concept. Dear children, give yourself and prepare positive affirmations such as I'm a powerful, I'm knowledgeful student. I follow discipline in my study routine and my concentration, memory and grasping abilities are excellent. I learn everything with respect and interest. My performance in the coming days will be the best. Give affirmations to yourself early in the morning and before going to the bed. Learning will continue. Stay tuned for more video lectures on social science. Keep learning. Have a nice day. Thank you.